Our agenda for today will be discussing first five topics, namely work remotely with 3CX, 3CX installation requirements, 3CX PBX Express, remote extensions using 3CX SBC or Session Border Controller, remote extensions using stand provisioning, and later we're lucky to have Miss Rachel to help us understand the remaining ones. So let me just start it with the first agenda for today's webinar. For those of us lucky enough to be able to keep working during the lockdown, one of the hardest adjustments is adapting to a work from home environment. Without much experience in working remotely, it can be difficult to get started on the right track and to build the ideal space in order for us to work productively. So let me show you an infographic from Amy Elliott, the 3X head of content. Let me just switch projection. Let me try once more. There. Can everybody see this one?
Yes, we can see it working from home
All right,
productively.
let's begin. Okay. Working from home productively. So this is just a brief introduction of why we are doing this, of course, as we all know with the current crisis that we have right now. So starting from the number one, the perks of being a remote worker. First is work from anywhere with just an internet and a laptop. Next is work more productively with less interruptions, followed by less time wasted, more time working converted from traveling and getting ready to work. Next is global connection without geographical limitations. The other one is save money from gas, commuting, and lunch. Of course, we tend to save a lot since we're working just in the comfort of our own houses. Sixth is take care of personal tasks while getting the job done. So there's no trade-offs of whether we are attending some of our personal matter at home, but with the help of 3CX flexible solutions, we are able to deliver excellent tasks and get it done within a scheduled time frame. Next is setting yourself up for success. So this is just a tip for working from home. Number one is create your space, even just for a laptop and a desk phone. Well, as we all know, remote working tends to involves or include a lot of calls nowadays. So it's not just email chatting, but calling as well is a main task of remote workers nowadays. Number two, stick to office hours. Well, company policy, of course. Number three, use business communications app. An extremely good solution offered by 3CX. Structuring our day. scheduling regular team meetings using 3CX web meetings and conferences, get out and about while connected, and bringing work through a mobile phone made possible by the 3CX app. Later on, we will be showing those features and tools that 3CX has to offer to be able to maximize our remote experience. Lastly, remember to take regular breaks, set presence applicable to let your colleagues know you're on it. Of course, this is a basic function, but uh, 3CX tends to be good at it, that you can set presence status and have everyone on your team know what you're up into. And I think that's it for a brief introduction of why uh, remote working is essential for today's crisis that we have right now. Going back to the presentation we have earlier, let me stop this once again. Yeah, I'm sorry, Michael, but what do you mean? Am I unclear? Is the audio bad or something? Okay, let me go back to my presentation area. There you go. Moving into installing our 3CX PBX. Basically, the goal of this module is to install 3CX successfully. The prerequisites that we have is later on listed down. In here, the concepts of networks, FQDN, or fully qualified domain network, and certificates are tackled. Also, we will be using the web-based setup wizard later on. Moving forward, the prerequisites for the operating system. So, namely, we have at least three operating systems that we can work with 3CX. One is Linux platform. The other one is Windows, and we can also use virtual machines for 3CX. We also have this Raspberry Pi Raspbian, if you can see it right here. This is just a microcontroller, if you all know about it. Being a microcontroller, it only caters up to 8 simultaneous calls, or SC. Linux Debian 9 is the version in particular wherein the Linux platform is utilized. So it is AMD 64 architecture. 3CX also has the download link and the guide for us to do so. We just have to follow this link right here. Installing in Windows requires a Windows 10 version operating in 64-bit, namely for Pro and Enterprise editions. Virtual machines can also be run here, probably Blade types servers. The editions from the Microsoft servers are 2019, 2016, and 2012 R2 version. But what we prefer here is the 2016 version. On-premise installations, again, are Windows, Linux, and through virtual machines. Later on, moving forward, please note that it's very important to comply with what is required of us to avoid unnecessary issues. Also, take note to set up 3CX on an OS you are familiar with. For Windows operating systems, these are your prerequisites. You just have to get a full Windows update. Net 4.6.1 is included. Using this one also requires us to have a browser listed here. Among the others are Chrome, Edge, and Firefox, but unfortunately, Internet Explorer is not supported. The Windows platform must also be free from MS Exchange, SQL, DNS, and VPN. An antivirus is possible, but we just have to add exclusions wherein the 3.6 folders and network traffic are not affected. For the Linux operating system, it's a more straightforward platform for 3.6 because it requires Linux to be only dedicated to 3.6, no other apps, just like the DNS and VPN. Third one is running it in a local virtualized machine or virtual machine. The tested or supported platform that we have is Microsoft Hyper-V, so 2008 R2 versions and higher, VMware XC version 5 and higher, KVM, Citrix and Server version 7 and higher. As said before, installation with Linux pretty much comes up with the guide itself. So you just have to download the 3CX ISO available on their website. You have an option to do it with the bare metal blade type servers or local hypervisors. This PBX Express stands for a hosted 3CX solutions. Three Windows, Linux, and virtual machine installations are mainly on-premise setup, wherein a PBX Express setup is a hosted setup for 3CX. You can choose among these six options. You have Amazon EC2, Amazon Lightsail, Google Cloud, Microsoft Azure, OVH, and OpenStack API version 2. You can also opt to have an apt-get on other cloud provider, provided that you have the proper API required. Going into the hardware requirements, if you are installing an on-premise setup, we have bare metal or VM or cloud provider, right? So let's just go here to this link just to show you that 3.6 already has standardized requirements depending on the simultaneous calls. Let me just project it once again. There. So as you can see, it is a link directly from the 3.6 website. The hardware requirements are detailed are explained in detail here. The CPU, the memory, network storage, and such. As you can see, there is a table that shows of how many or how large the extensions in the organization is. By the way, if you're not aware, 3CX is more of a simultaneous call based PBX. It means that it doesn't care how many extensions or users you have in an organization, but rather it requires you to be specific on the usage of calls with regards to the simultaneous calls that you have in one moment of time. So here you can see the different requirements per setup. So you have the small type, you have the medium, large, enterprise, enterprise plus, and so on. There. You also have the SBC and the cloud provider. Let me go back to the presentation. All right, somebody wishes to speak. Who was it? Let me. Yes, Michael. Let me just unmute you. Uh, that one there. Yeah, can you hear me? I did unmute your audio so that you can speak, or maybe you can just chat something in the meeting chat. Yeah. Aside from yeah, you really can't hear anything. It is beyond choppy. Yeah, but I mean, all the other participants can hear as well. Could you please check your internet connection? Might be something related to it. Okay, then maybe that is why. Because the other participants can hear us pretty good. Anyway, well, yeah. I mean, this will be a recorded webinar, so we will be uploading this one into our YouTube channel. Whenever you have to review the webinar, feel free to do so. But I mean, we must move forward because we only have a limited time and schedule time for this one. Kindly check your internet access at the moment. Okay, 1 Mbps connection. Would you try to reconnect? Maybe just leave the meeting room for now and just join again. Yeah, we'll be waiting. Hello, Christian. Can you hear me?
Hello, guys. Can you hear me? Oh, Michael is back. Louis.
Yeah, how is it, Michael? Can you hear anything now? Because right now we have one, two, three, four, five, six, seven.
Actually, Mark Rendell left a comment earlier and he said he can hear us clearly.
Yeah, I think out of at least 10 participants, there are two participants who are having the same issue like what Michael's having right now. Hello, Michael. How was the reception ongoing right now?
I think other participants can hear us.
Hello, Michael. Any luck, Mike? Can you hear us now?
Okay.
Right. Yeah. So going back after we saw the hardware specifications for each organization size using 3CX. Let's move into prerequisites in using the network LAN side of the 3CX. Yeah. All right. A technician or a 3CX personnel is expected to have at least fundamental network knowledge required, as 3CX is also RFC compliant with its internal network because it allows HTTP access to the PBX, also to communicate with SIP using the IP address, probably a static one for a production 3CX, which is what we recommend best. With regards to network interface that lies upon the hardware or the server that you are using, it is recommended to use just one for a single IP address, and also disable unused adapters, and a wired network connection would probably be the best because it won't have any packet loss as compared to a Wi-Fi powered connection. Moving on, this one is about for the networking in one side, a configurable firewall, a proper port preservation or port forwarding setup for all required ports, SIP, the default port is 5060. The RTP ports defaults are 9000 to 10999. The tunnel port should be 5090, and the HTTPS port is the defaulted 5001. So it is expected to have all those ports mentioned be forwarded on your respective firewalls on the 3CX server side. Most importantly, SIP ALG feature must be disabled on any possible boardware device, namely the router and firewall on the server side as well. As you can see, an static IP brings many benefits. Why? Because it has a direct connection with the public domain that we have across the internet. Doesn't require HTTPS proxies and certificate deep inspection. It has also an allowable outbound traffic using the ports mentioned earlier. Okay. Next is prerequisite with regards to key. So this is a prerequisite with regards to a login into your 3CX console. So once you have it up and running, what helps you to connect and be in log into the 3CX is the key. The key to the certificate, which is provided by the 3CX upon installation. In here, we can see three types of licenses or editions that we have in 3CX as available. One is its standard, two is pro or professional license, the three is enterprise license. The difference between the licenses is the features itself. 3CX standard license only have this FQDN and SMTP as a feature, but the other, as you can see, has more features that has in them. Let's see a comparison in this link. Let me project that once again. Edition comparison. Okay, there you go. There was just a ring. Let me see what is. I am using my PC. Let me try if my mobile is better. Be back in a jiffy. Yeah, sure. Please do so. Thanks so much, Michael, for understanding. While you are working on that one, let me proceed with the edition comparisons right here on our screen. Okay, check it once again. Edition comparison. All right, there you go. As mentioned, we have standard, professional, and enterprise. You can see the difference of the feature here in the left side. The points that are emphasized in the right side are the features available for each of the editions that we have. You can see here under core PBX features that a standard license don't have these things. All right. Office productivity. Here you can check among the requirements. Of course, when you're applying to buy a specific product, what you have in mind is the requirements or the needs that you have enabled to do the support solutions. So we have here a table that you can compare the editions into the whatever need that you have. Going back to the presentation, stop it once again and go back to my presentation here. Okay. Installing the license key. Well, first things first, if you proceed to installing the 3CX, you will be given a license key right away. So you can see here we have a link. Don't have a key, get one for free. Upon clicking this link, you will be redirected into 3CX installation and download page. Let me project that once again. There's a lot of links, so we are trying to switch just to show you how it looks like from there. IP. Yeah, here. So once you have set up or filled out the information required to be able to get a 3CX install, you will be provided a license key right away. and you have the option where you can install it. So you have on-premise installation, cloud installation, and another cloud installation hosted by 3CX. The difference between option 2 and option 3 is that option 2 is not free. Of course, you have to choose among Google, Lightsail, Azure, and EC2 OpenStack as well for OVH to let your 3CX be hosted in the cloud. While here, 3CX has given us an opportunity to let our 3CX install hosted for at least 6 months. Then after that, you should now choose if you wanted to proceed with an on-premise installation or a cloud installation using the supported cloud hosted solutions here. All right, get back to the presentation again. There. External FQDN is also a part of the installation process. As mentioned earlier, this is the fully qualified domain name. This stands for what we commonly know in the browser as the URL. So it's the same thing with 3CX. So can I install just on IP addresses? The answer is no, because certificates work on FQDNs and not IPs. Why not self-signed? This pertains to a certificate, as mentioned earlier, before you are able to log in to the 3CX. What you don't know is there is a certificate and key that is working uh, in the background. So we have an option with 3CX to just use their own certificate for this one, and it's beneficial because the reduction of administrative overhead is achieved. The trust in between the endpoints is also achieved between browsers and IP phones, and all most importantly, the security, because it is generated by UCX itself. But you can always make your own certificate if you want. But the thing is, only your organization or network can access yours. Not no other organization would be able to access your 3CX in case that you needed support, something like that. Again, the importance of knowing static and dynamic IPs in terms of availability and reachability, where is a plus for static IP, because dynamic IP is, as we all know it, change from time to time, and it can't be really useful for a production type of 3CX install. For the domain service, we have free public FQDN, free trusted SSL certificate, as mentioned on the before slide, and support for dynamic IPs, all provided for free by 3CX. 3CX domain. So here you now have to set a name for the FQDN on your 3CX. The name here, demo install, is the main FQDN name that you will be assigning to your 3CX. You just have to select the domain group, which pertains to your region, and preferred domain suffix. Of course, this one is in Europe, so what he chose is United Kingdom. This full FQDN should be this one in this case. So demo install is the name. It is in here. Then the domain suffix is 3cx.co.uk. So Upon pressing this FQDN in any browser, you should be able to access your 3CX console successfully. PBX ports free port choice. This pertains into selecting the ports that you wanted to use when you're accessing your 3CX. We have default 5000 for HTTP, 5001 for HTTPS. For SIP server, we have 5060, and for the tunnel ports, we have 5090. These ports, keep in mind that they are only configurable during installation. That means that once you have set it up, there's no way that you can change it into any other ports when you are finished with the installation. The only way that you could change it is to make a secure backup of your 3CX, including the license and FQDN. Then start from the scratch, a fresh install wherein you can change the ports during the installation process. An internal IP or FQDN. So this is just saying that if we have a managed network, like this one is applicable for a more complex setup or install, that they also require records, local and IP of the PBX, local FQDNs in the PBX config tool, as compared to unmanaged network that it is the router, which stands for the DNS and DHCP itself. Simply just select the local IP. So there's your option in here. Depends to the setup, case to case basis. Internal FQDN or IP. So when to use internal FQDN? You have to use internal FQDN if you wanted to split DNS setups. You have your own domain as required, and it also helps you whenever your main FQDN has failed. So an failover setup feature is available. So prerequisites, we have configurable internal DNS server and DHCP server as mentioned a while ago. Nothing to manage router-based network. This is the same thing as unmanaged. So this one pertains to managed networks, and this one is unmanaged. That's why the question itself is nothing to manage. Just the same thing. Use the local LAN IP. A web-based setup wizard. Along the process of installation, you will be asked to which extension length would you like to use. So these three digits means that the extensions that you can use in your 3CX would be ranging from 000 to 999. And of course, the other numbers or digits not in this range can't be used further. Also not changeable within uh, a completion of the install. You can also set the email administrator, which should receive all the update information when set up in 3CX, backup and restore progress, info and warnings of the system. As the 3CX has its own 3CX SMTP server for free, you just have to use that. Or you may want to use your custom SMTP if you have that in your own organizations. The main feature is to send welcome email to the administrator email that you have set up, faxes, voicemails, missed call notifications, and the like. Time zone. This splits Linux and Windows because Linux use the server time itself automatically, and Windows you have to set it up manually under the system time settings. So that's the main difference for this one. Whatever changes you make in a Linux install 3CX, whatever parameters you do to amend the time settings, it won't have any effect, as the only time that it follows is the server time if it's a Linux install. The country is a set voicemail number, allows goes to country of installation. Here, uh, respective country is used as well, and the voicemail number to each country, corresponding voicemail numbers. Registration. This is simply the information of the maybe the reseller or the client itself, the name, company, email, just those supplementary information that you need to uh, input for you to have the finalized registration details. And yeah, we're done with the installation, the second agenda for our webinar. Moving on to PBX Express using personal account. Let me, okay, I'll just review the chat if there's any updates. So going back, PBX Express, as mentioned earlier, is a cloud install or setup of the 3CX. We have divided it earlier into two. As you can remember, we have on-premise installs that ranges from Windows, Linux platforms, and virtual machines. The other one is using cloud install, and PBX Express is a tool which can help us do it. The goal is of this module is to uh, create a 3CX install, of course, using your personal account. What what is it really, and the usage, also the options that we have. PBX Express is an online tool, as mentioned, that allows you to configure, deploy, and restore your 3CX in the cloud in a matter of minutes. In a matter of minutes, because as compared to an on-premise installation where you have your own hardware or server uh, right beside you, this PBX Express install, a cloud install, is just selecting mainly which cloud hosted platform are you able to use, and that's it. That's why it says in here in a matter of minutes. It's a really fast install setup if you ask. So let's go here, PBX Express, so that you can see how it's look like. Let me just project it once again. PBX Express. There you go. All right. So if you can see the screen right now, we are on the PBX Express page, also in the 3CX website. Step one, you can see we only have at least 5 steps to finish a installation process. First is to select the country, time zone. This is the language that should be used, mainly used in your 3CX. So, of course, we have English. Select Philippines in here, for example, and Singapore. Yes. So, we'll be going to the step two, domain name. As mentioned earlier, this host name in here would serve as your main FQDN name, main 3CX name. So whatever you put in here should be the name or characters that you should input in the browser when you wanted to access your 3CX. For example, let's leave it as is. Alloy domain group. Let's have it in Asia. Domain at Singapore as well. There. So when you try to access the 3CX, it should be alloy.my3cx.sg, then the port that you have set in the earlier slides. So next, same thing. You gotta select the extension length that you have to use, which is also one-time configuration. You can change it once you have installed this one in the cloud. Cloud provider. So here we go. We have the couple of options. We have Google Cloud, OVH, same familiar options that we have earlier. Amazon EC2, Lightsail, VPS Cloud Provider. This one is more custom cloud hosting as long as you have the API needed, Microsoft Azure. The main difference, if you may ask, between the Amazon EC2 or AWS and Lightsail is that AWS is more inclined into a developer type of a cloud install. It means that uh, it has more features than the Lightsail. Aside from VPS or the virtual private server that it has, it also have database and storage. So Lightsail doesn't have that. That's why the edge for Lightsail is that it is cheap as compared to AWS. So 1 terabyte of storage in AWS will cost you around $90, where in Lightsail this is just a instant price for an specific instance. Before you even select which solution would you like to use, here is a guide that will tell you how to do a corresponding guide that will tell you how are you able to set up using their cloud platform. Yeah, so there, each has different requirements where you can see more of that in the guides. So I won't go any further than that. It's just a straightforward explanation. Just press next. Then you will be asked to sign in. Then after a while, you will be able to finish as what you can see in here. Now let's just go back to the presentation. Application window, back. All right. Getting started. This is what we did actually. So I'll just run it through over. The license key, the name, the time zone, the language set, FQDN. For our case, we used Alloy earlier and we used Singapore instead of Europe. The digit length cannot be changed, as mentioned. Cannot be changed further after your install, but if for every other new installation, you can select any of them. In here, you have to select the hosting provider, as what we showed earlier. Okay, enter API details manually. This is the custom hosting provider. This corresponds to your account details, of course. PBX Express. Yeah, this is, I think, the final step. You just have to determine which machine type and region. Of course, if you just have to select the closest region that you have in your place with regards to this one. Nearly there. So in this one, it's already installing the 3CX. So there you have the license key, the emails, FQDN, username, password, and everything. After that, you will be able to access your 3CX install via the cloud You'll be sent the username and password, also the link to the management console, to the email that you have used earlier during the install. All right. So one more thing is what if you already have an on-premise install setup of your 3CX and you wanted to change from that on-premise setup into a cloud setup? This is what you're supposed to do. So first is backup needs include license key and FQDN, which is discussed earlier as well. Can also use any publicly accessible file sharing device. Just simply restore it as is. Okay. Going to our fourth agenda, remote IP phone extensions using session border controller. The goal of this module is to correctly route calls via the 3CX session border controller from remote locations. So this is particularly useful in our present scenario wherein most offices are closed and most workforce are at home. The remote locations, of course. Configuration of the 3CX SBC, provisioning of IP phones. Covered module, configure a local IP phone. This works, by the way, with a desk phone. Later on, we will also see a stun provisioning, another remote provisioning offered by 3CX. So we have two, we have SBC and we have stun. So both of them works with a desk phone, an IP phone that is supported by the 3CX. Covered module also is the configuration of firewall in the server side. So where the server lies, you have to configure the firewall in there. A supported IP phone, yeah. It should be running the latest recommended firmware version. The machine at the remote location, so supported OS. From the beginning of the installation, we have mentioned about this. Windows 10, Debian 9 for Linux, Raspberry Pi for Raspbian. Other requirements is 1 is to 1 IP address for one network interface, so LAN static, and disable again the unused adapters. Please take note that the remote location does not require a static public address. It's just that the server side. So the remote location is probably the client side that you have. Okay. So some key points to remember as well. If the 3CX is on premise and remote workers also must access the LAN in the office, ensure that there is enough bandwidth on the WAN connection of the office side. Having remote extensions creates an additional layer of traffic that you would not experience if extensions were in the same office. For example, calls between local extensions will now take extra bandwidth as they will be traversing over the internet. Further, additional traffic will also be generated by using SIP notify messages on port 5001, which is our default, for BLF keys. So BLF keys stands for the BCLAM fields. Each extension may use to enable speed dial and such features. The more extensions that use BLF, the more SIP notified traffic is generated. The more BLF keys every single extension uses, the more SIP notified traffic is generated as well. Okay. Here an update. Okay. So we have the SBC hardware specifications in here. For Windows and Debian, we have maximum 50 extensions, 100 simultaneous calls, and 250 BLF keys across all phones. Please take note that the main difference between SBC and stun, which will be discussed later on, is that for an
Hello,
installation
Miss
of remote.
Anna.
Yeah, what was
I
that?
can see it.
And yes, excuse me. Okay, yeah, going back. Yep. So SBC have a wider capacity as compared with stun. So this is particularly in terms of the remote extensions and the IP phones itself. You can have 50 extensions maximum with SBC, but you can't do that with using stun provisioning because stun is a pretty much complex provisioning method used by 3CX. It would require you to set an specific ports for each phones. Other than that is to set an specific SIP port for each phones as well. The same thing, this is the same link that we have earlier. If you can remember, there is the hardware specifications for different sizes in 3CX install. And at the bottom, there is the SBC hardware specifications in general. Going into the Raspberry Pi 2 or 3, our microcontroller, the maximum extension that we can have there is 20 extensions. And as you can remember, simultaneous calls is 8. So across 20 extensions, I think 8 simultaneous calls is pretty good, good number. We also have 200 BLF keys across all devices. Supported SBC phones, we have Fanville, Grandstream, HTech, Snom, and Yealink. Here in the illustration, we can see that we have two locations, right? Your PBX is in here, so this is the server. Then you have there your firewall, which you have to comply with our prerequisites earlier. The tunnel ports, the SIP ports, the RTP ports, the HTTP ports, and HTTPS ports all must be complied for this to work. Then going into the public network, the internet, another firewall going into the remote location. So there is where you install the SBC. Then this one right here should be your remote IP phone, which could be among these five: Panville, Quantum, HTech, SNOM, and Yeeling. There. The benefits of using the 3CX SBC: internal call capabilities to a group of remote users. As you can see, it's highlighted that to a group because it caters a wider capacity compared to stun. Dropship IP phones. This means that upon buying the handsets or the desk phones from your distributor or supplier, you can even have them shipped directly to your clients. And when they plug it into their network, it would work right away. No further configuration is needed. PNP provisioning, the same thing. So plug and play. Traffic remains in LAN for phones connected to the same SBC. So assuming you have 50 phones all connected to that SBC server in your remote location, the traffic only remains in the LAN, so it will not cause you an overhead, a traffic overhead for that reason. But it is only when options of PBX delivers audio and recording of calls are not enabled. You have to overcome NAT and SIP ALG router issues using SBC. It has also the encryption and it's free as it's downloadable in the 3CX website. So to do that, collect the PBX information. You have to go here to get the seaport and tunnel port. Go to the management console, settings, network ports. To get the 3CX tunnel password, go to settings, security, and 3CX tunnel, dashboard, security settings, and 3CX tunnel. And to acquire the public FQDN, well, it's just the FQDN that you have in the browser browser field. Yep. So I won't get any further than this to show you once again where to do that because it's pretty much straightforward. Uh, the 3CX console is pretty user friendly, so you can access this uh, in an instant. SBC installation, get the latest version from the customer or partner portals, which is available in the 3CX website. So fill in required information. It's optional to enable the encryption and set failover PBX as well. So you can see here we are using the SIP port as default. You can remember 5060. The tunnel port is 5090. Here is the FQDN of your 3CX, mainly your 3CX itself. So fqdn.3cx.eu stand for Europe. The local IP address, which could be acquired going back here. Oh, should be acquired in the uh, network settings of your PBX. IP phones provisioning or plug and play mentioned earlier. Just boot the phone into the remote location. Then once it finish the boot up process, should be registered in an instant. So it is using HTTPS port of the PBX and it's not tunneled by the SBC. This would be the I think the last one for my agenda before I turn it over to Miss Rachel for more deeper explanation of remote solutions that we have. We are going with stun, but I would like to show how exactly would you create an SBC, just a quick one, so that you guys can appreciate it more. Let me share a screen that I have here. Let's go there. All right. If you are seeing this one, this would be your 3CX console. This is the main graphical user interface or web user interface as they call it. Here, yeah, you can see the main information with regards to the 3CX statuses of the system, the PBX information. Here is where you can see the IP as I mentioned earlier. So your local IP is here. Then to create an SBC, go to zip trunks, right? Then add SBC here. You just have to put in a name, for example, test, and a password. For this is for authentication with your remote SBC in your remote location because this is our server, right? So just press OK. Then you'll be redirected here. The web URL would be the same thing, so it's this one as well. Authentication key, you needed this one when you're trying to install and make the remote SBC server up and running. Statistic or some other informations in there. You could just proceed and press OK. You can see that it's in here right now. It's down or it's not online as it's shown in red. So after that, you just have to download the SBC installation with your remote and proceed with the installation just like any other app. So after that, you will be asked to the name, the password, authentication key, and if everything went well, it should be connected. It should display as green and up and running. Now the thing is, how would you create the remote extensions using that one? So here, for example, you have your phones here. Let's just say that I have here a desk phone that has appeared in here. Let me see this. All right, let's try this one. So go to the extension or the phone. So this, for instance, this 216 extension, phone provisioning. You have to select the provisioning method SBC, right? So you just have to put in the SBC IP address. So where would you install the SBC remote server should be the one that is put in here. That IP address should be uh, input here. Then that's it, basically. After a reboot, should work as fine. And going back, let's proceed to scan. If you're able to see already, here is the scan that we will be discussing after this one. So you have the local provisioning, you have the SBC remote, you have the scan remote. So that's the difference among the three. Going back, let me go back to the presentation. There you go. Scan. The goal of this module is to correctly implement IP phones in remote locations using stun or session traversal utilities for NAT. Configuration of remote firewall, which is a requirement in our installation agenda earlier. Provision a remote stun extension and the usage of RPS. Prerequisites. Covered module configured the firewall. So this is highlighted because it is really important because it's more complex to implement a stun provisioning than SBC. So it is expected that every ports is strictly forwarded as it says. A supported IP phone running recommended. Recommended means that it should always be in the most latest firmware version that it have currently. Functioning mail server for SMTP, which is free. End user needs to have welcome email. So just input the email address of the user so that the email welcome email would take effect. Access to remote firewall and gateway. Let me add something. So if you are using stan or manual provisioning, a configurable firewall must be on remote end as well. It's not like the SBC. I mean, it's the same thing as SBC that you need firewall on both ends and it has to be configurable. Supported stand phones are the same thing. So you have Fanville, Grandstream, HTech, Snom, and J-Link. Benefits, well, remote call is a remote call. So you're simulating an internal call capabilities to remote users acting as if a two different location is connected in an internal network. Dropship IP phones, just like what SBC is capable of doing. No additional hardware required because SBC might require you to have a server, right? So you have to install it somewhere, like say for example a PC and it's dedicated for that SBC setup. You can also have a laptop or the microcontrollers that is supported. Auto discovery of your 3CX. Okay. Provisioning stand extensions for the admin side. Create or configure extension in 3CX. The make model. So for instance, you have GXP2170, a Grandstream phone, its MAC address, and its remote ports. The complexity of stand is that, as you can see right here, we will be focusing in this extension 200, this upper IP phone. It has an IP of X.2 as an example. The SIP port is 5065. So this 5065 is should be forwarded in your firewall assigned to this IP address. The RTP port 14,000 to 14,019 would be the same thing. It is forwarded under this IP as well. On the other hand, you also have the second IP phone provisioned using STAN. Let's say this extension 201. The IP is X.3, right? Notice that it uses different SIP port. So earlier we have 5065. This one has 5066 because STAN requires each desk phone to have different SIP port to use for, of course, communication for the RTP. The same thing, 14,020 and 14,039. This is the range that you should be forwarding for this IP X.3. Notice that it's not the same thing with this one as well. After 14,019, it uses 14,020 and another at least 19 ports that you're allowing the phone to use. You have here the probably this would be the 3CX to serve as your 3CX. It has the one of 20 dot something, then the LAN is 192 dot something because those two are the remote uh, desk phones. So what is STAN? Generally, STAN is a session traversal utilities for NAT. As mentioned, is a method to discover the public IP address from a LAN, discover firewall port mappings from a LAN. So it takes itself as if the connectivity is on LAN only because it uses a remote functionality for the phones. So STAN server is your own PBX. In our case, the 3CX, it doesn't require any other hardware as compared to SBC. Provisioning remote extensions or end user. Reset phone. If not a new device, you always have to do this reset process. So whenever you're using SBC or stun, a phone reset is really necessary because at most times or oftentimes a single reset won't really make the phone or the desk phone provision right away. You would need to repeat steps of resetting process before you will be able to provision the phone even under the SBC or the stun provisioning. Power up phone at remote location, of course. You need to do that. Phone prompts for login from welcome email. This welcome email will be sent to you if you create a new extension and there is an email set up as well. So you can manually do it in the 3x console. There you should see the extension number and the voicemail pin. You just have to input it right there. RPS is what makes the provisioning really possible. So it works hand in hand with the stun. So remote provisioning service or RPS is an automatically triggered when provisioning method is stun. So it binds MAC address to provisioning URL. When phone boots, it retrieves the URL, and after 2 weeks, MAC or URL is unlisted. For each vendor, they uses different RPS server. I mean, GrandStream uses GAPS or GrandStream provisioning service. Yealink uses RPS, this one, namely, and the others use their own as well. So it's just a naming convention, by the way. But you get the point. There is the server here. This is the phone. So when you register the MAC, you also get the URL. It's bound to the URL. Then the request provision is requested to the 3CX upon boot up. So that's the first thing the phone does when you're trying to provision itself in a stand provisioning. If stand extension shows the following symptoms: no connection to server, audio issues, cannot transfer or hold or resume calls, these are what uh, you have to check. The remote firewall for SIP ALG, you have to disable it when we mentioned earlier and stress it out that it's really important. Check that NAT is implemented. So NAT basically is the port forwarding for the necessary ports we also mentioned earlier. More than one stand phone behind one router. So this is where it gets messy because stand is ideally designed to support just a few phone, and when you are requiring to support f- more than, let's say, five would be safe, five remote phones in a remote location, you would have to use SBC. That would be more ideal. When you use more than one phone under stun, then you have to enable PBX delivers audio under the extension settings of that phone. Then yeah, I think we're done for my part. And if Rachel is ready, she can proceed with her own uh, presentation. Rachel, are you there?
Hi, Louis. I'm ready.
Yeah.
Thank you for your informative presentation.
Yeah, sorry to interrupt. By the way, if you guys have questions, feel free to ask them after Rachel is done with her presentation. So just keep
Yeah.
it within yourselves for at this moment. Then let's talk about it earlier. I mean later.
Yeah, but they can leave a comment there using the chat box so they will not forget what their
Yeah,
question.
sure. All right.
So we'll just read it after the presentation.
Okay. Yeah, so it's all yours now, Rachel.
Thank you, Louis.
Thank you. Okay.
Hello, guys. Are you guys still connected? Can you still hear me clearly? Let me just share my screen. Thank you, Mark Randall, for answering. All right. Can you see my screen now?
Yes, we can see it.
Okay. Thank you. Thank you also, Michael, for answering. All right. So thank you for Louis' presentation. He discussed about SBC and STAN. So I just want to add another way of provisioning. So actually, there is three way to provision this to provision the extensions. One is SBC, the second one STAN, and the third one is manual provisioning, which I will discuss later on. But I just wanted to add on Louis' presentation when do we know, or when do we decide when to use SBC and when to use a STAN? So for SBC, we use this for example, you have multiple remote extension on a remote location, let's say more than 3 extensions. We suggest to use an SBC instead of STAN. Why? Because if you use STAN for multiple IP phone, you have to port forward multiple ports like the SC port, RTP ports for each IP phones. So that's the disadvantage of using STAN. But what's the advantage of using SBC? In using SBC, it will function like you can see the phones like it's on the same location with the remote with the 3CX server. So it acts as a local one when you use SBC. But the disadvantage in the SBC provisioning is that you have to have hardware in your remote location, which is an advantage of instant provisioning. Instant provisioning, you don't need hardware, but in SBC, you need the hardware in a remote location. So that's it. That's basically it, the difference of STAN and SBC. So now I will show you the manual provisioning. But let me just discuss the setup right now. So in our alley office, if you've been to alley office, this is how it looks like. So we installed the 3CX server there in our Linux device. So it's installed properly there, and the firewall are all green, as discussed with Louis earlier. So in my location, this is my location, location 2. I have here two IP phone, IP phone 1, IP phone 2. So if you don't have IP phone and you will still need to connect to your Ali Office 3CX server, you can still use your 3CX client, 3CX web client, and 3CX mobile app. So this is one of the good thing about 3CX is that they do not require payment for these features. They do not require additional fee for this. So once you have this once you have this 3CX installed, you can immediately have this 3CX client, web client, and mobile app, which I will show you how to use it later. All right, and for the next location, let's say this is Louis' location, location 3. He don't have an IP phone there, so you can just use 3CX and 3CX mobile app. All right. So let's start with manual provisioning first. Can you still see my screen? Let me just access our 3CX. So this is the 3CX server in the Ali office. So as you can see, the firewall is green. That's the step one you should check in doing a remote extension. So make sure the firewall here are all green. You have to run this and make sure everything is green. So when you run a firewall, there will be some interruption in the server. So make sure um, when you do a firewall check, it's not in operation. So so it checks the 50, 60 ports, SIP ports, RTP ports, all that. So that's the good thing with 3CX. They have this kind of diagnostic. So moving on. So let's check on phones. So when you go to the phones category, can you clearly see my screen or is it too small? Let me just zoom in. Can you read, Louis?
Yeah, we can read it.
Okay, thank you. All right. As you can see here, these are the phones that can be detected by our 3SEC server. When you observe this, you can see bold one and not bolded. So here. So what does it mean? So the bolded one are the devices that is not registered or provisioned yet. So that means it doesn't have an extension registered to that phone or device yet. So when it's not bolded, um, it means it is registered. As you can see here, I have here GXP 1625. It is registered to extension 501. So that is a grand stream device. And when you notice this part, 192.168.1.11 via SBC. So I actually use SBC in my location at my home. So that SBC's IP is 192.168.1.10. So let's look into the zip trunk. Louis showed you earlier how to install SBC, right? So that's basically how it is. So let's just add SBC here, um, put the password, and then use this installer, and then match the password and the URL. So that's basically it. So this is the SBC running in my location right now. So it's green. So it is registered 7 hours ago, and up until now it's active. So how do we know if the SBC is running in my location? Go to Task Manager and then Services, 36 SBC. Can you see here? And the status is running. All right. So that's it. The SBC is set up properly. So since this one are not yet provisioned, let me just add this to Louis' presentation. Let's say this one is GXP 1625, not yet provisioned. And if you want to provision it, this is one of the advantage of SBC. You can assign extension right away to that phone and then select which extension would you like it to be provisioned. So let's say 501. Once you press OK on that, of course, I will not proceed because once you press on that, the phone will reboot. And after that reboot, it will start up, the phone will start up, and when you go to extension, it will be provisioned right away. So that's how SBC works. So now I will create an extension, another extension to show you how to do a manual provisioning. So let's proceed. Let's go to extension, then add. Decide which extension number you would like to put into. Let's say 502. Your first name, and just add some IP phone 2. Okay. And then what's the next required field is the email address. This is very important because I will show you later. Show that one at elite.com.ph. And that's basically it. So in authentication, these are the information that you will have to put into your device manually. So 36 set a default ID and password, but you can always change that one. So let me put something. Let's say 502 password, any password you like. So now I will just use a simple one, test password, and then that's it. That's the only thing you need for manual provisioning. So just click OK. All right. So you have created an extension. You can see here that there's a warning sign. It's okay. It's just a warning because I just use a simple password. So it will be removed when once you use a stronger one. So let just be like that. So going back to phones, this is the phone that I have. As you can see, it says via SBC. So this is the other phone, the second phone that I have. The IP address is 192.168.1.9. So for you to do manual provisioning, you just have to open the web user interface of that device. Right. So use the default password of GrandStream. Okay. And this is the web user interface of your IP phone. So there's a lot of IP phone that is supported by 3CX other brands. You can check that on our 3CX website, but for now we'll use the GrandStream device. Okay, so using a two SIP account phone. So as you can see, account one and account two are not yet registered. So to do that, go to accounts, then account one. Here you will fill up the things that you put into your 3sec server. Make sure the account active is set to yes. Account name, anything, racial, SIP server. This is very important. The SIP server that you will have to input is the FQDN of your device, of your 3sec server. So this is it, the URL. I just copy that. Okay. So the default for GrandStream is 5060. So let's put into it. Let's put it here, just so you will not forget to change this one if you change the SIP port during the installation. So if you decide to use 5080 instead of the default one 5060, you will have to put 5080 here. But if you're using the default one, the 5060, you can just remove it right away. So that's it. But for just this demo, I'll just put it so you will not forget to include this one once you change the zip port. And next one, the important one is the outbound proxy. So if you are not using an SBC, you don't have to do this. You just put blank in this. So, but since I have SBC behind my um, SBC in my network, I have to put it even I do manual provisioning. So the IP address of my SBC is the IP address where you install that SBC. Am I clear? So my IP address right now is 1.10, and I installed my SBC in my computer temporarily just for this demo. So 1.10. And the next important one is the SIP user ID, authenticate ID, and the password. So SIP user ID is the one I put in earlier, 502. This is the authenticate ID. Let's just go back there to verify. 502. Okay. And then the authenticate password is the one I put in here. Test password. So that's just it. That's how you do manual provisioning. So save and apply. Let's just wait for a few minutes. And that's it. It's now green. So that is what one of the advantage of manual provisioning. You don't need to reboot in case of in terms of STAN and SBC provisioning. You don't need to reboot. So those are the three options that we wanted to show you and appreciate the differences. So it depends on you now which one you will use. It depends on your network. Depends on how many IP phones you have. So those are the three um, provisioning steps. So if you have any question, just leave it on the chat and I will now proceed on the web client. So no questions so far. Let's proceed. I guess we have to move on to PCX web client. Okay, so what is 3CX web client? 3CX web client is a software. So it's a software, but you don't have to install anything. You just need a browser like Chrome or Firefox, like that. Oh, so what's the advantage of using a 3CX web client? So you can use You can control your IP phone beside you using the web client, and you can run alongside IP phones on the same extension number or simply SIP forking. So let me just explain what is SIP forking, because we have sales participants in here which are might not understood the jargons that we are using. Right. SIP forking is, for example, this one. The IP phone one is registered to 501, and I want to use another device with the same extension. Like I have another 3.6 web client, and I will use the same extension. So that is SIP forking. So how do we enable web client? First, you will have to send welcome email to that user. That's the importance of adding the email address in the extension. So I put my email address here. So let me just wait for it. All right. So this is the email that I received. So it's in IP phone 1. You can see the details here, your extension number, your extension pin, the voicemail code, and this is the web client part. Oops, sorry. So you can see here it attached the link where you can access the web client 501 and the password. All right, so we will use this link as we are outside our office. If you are inside our office, this will be the one that you need to use, and this is for the outside. Okay, let's click on that. And then it will ask for extension number and password, which is already included in the email. 501 and the password. And password. And that's it. You are already in your web client. So as you observe here, just it's just the FQDN and slash web client. Right. So what will I show you here is, as you can see the extensions that is registered. You can see here, Anna have a note, smile, and then here you can set which one to use using the web client. If you select this Grand Stream GXP 1625, that means you can control it via this web client. So now I will try to call Louis. His extension number is 112. Louis Ion. As if you can hear it, the phone, the GXP 1625 is ringing here too. And that's it. That I put the GXP in speaker mode. So that's it. Can you hear me, Louis?
Yes, can hear you.
Yeah, so the audio and speaker is from the GXP device. Let's end it. So let's try the web client. So I will try to call Louis again. 112. So you can see here the status is changing. It's ringing and it turned to yellow, which means Louis already answered it and we are connected. So the audio and speaker can be heard from my headset that I'm using instead of the GXP device. So there are options here. Let me just put Louis on hold because it's having a feedback. Oops. So there are options here: transfer, attended transfer, conference, recording, video, hold, mute, and keypad. So if you would like to transfer him, you can just use this one. And another one is the smartphone. So we cannot do this yet. Later I'll show you. So what else we can see from here? You can set your status to available, away, do not disturb. If you're in lunch, you can set status temporarily. You can do that. If you are in do not disturb, of course, people calling you cannot be contacted. You cannot be contacted if you're in do not disturb. So what else is here? Call, you can do video call, but I cannot. I'm unfortunately I cannot show it to you right now because I don't have a webcam. You can chat. See it.
Wait,
It automatically sent you here. So let's say something. Slowly. So you can chat there. You can use emoticons. It's like you're chatting from the messenger. You can also attach files. You'd like to. uh Let me just attach something. That's it. Can you see my screen? And you can see him typing. So just like that, you can archive it and delete it. So that's one of the feature of 3CX Web Client. So next one, well received. Next one is call history. So you can see here the history. You can call them back, chat them back. So incoming, outgoing, missed, and abandoned. So that's it. You can also set your voicemail here. So I don't have an existing voicemail right now, but you can play it here. There must be an option that you will have to play it to play the audio file using your web client. So let's proceed on schedule conference. So I have set a conference for May 5, but let me just show you how it's done. So you can set a conference using audio and video. Hello. Do I think your audio is still on? And thank you. Um, you can set your conference if you want, if you like to be audio only or video only. When? So now let's try video. Later you can set schedule. So this is what I did for our webinar right now. So I set it to May 6, and the duration, the subject, and notes to participant. So what is the web meeting profile? So there are two options, web meeting and webinar. In our current situation right now is it is set to webinar. So what is the difference? So if you have web meeting, if you want to use web meeting, there are certain options that are not allowed. So everyone is an organizer, so you don't have to wait for your who created that conference. You don't have to wait for him. You can just connect directly. So you can turn off the video and chat for incoming participants, location. So these are the server that you can use for the webinar. Australia, Singapore, Taiwan, India. So that's it. You can set the bit rate to lower. So if you have a slower internet, you can put it down. So what's the webinar? The webinar is that the organizer must connect first. Just what happened to us. I must connect first to the conference before you can connect to the meeting. So same thing here. So that's it. You can add meeting. You can import if you have multiple attendees. If you're tired of adding it one by one, you can import the Excel file or the CSV. So that's it. So next is web meeting. So what's the difference? This one is an instant meeting. You can have it right now. So I will start now, and hopefully Miss Anna and Louie and John Rick are ready. So as you can see, you can just join immediately. You can turn off your mic, turn it off. Settings here. So we can test first before joining. So let's proceed. Just join now. As you can see, I don't have a camera. So this is how it looks like for the web meeting. So you can turn your camera off, mute recording. start recording. For the recording, it depends actually on your hardware requirements, but by default, it is set to 5 gigabit. So you can start screen sharing, attach file, like PDF. So you can do whiteboard. Let me just add my colleagues. So this is the meeting link that you have to share with your colleagues. Right. Let me just ask them to join so we can demo to you the video feeds. So you can just manually add people here, email. Louis, can you please join the web meeting so I can show some?
Yeah, I'm on it. Just one moment.
Right, thank you. So that is right. So can you guys temporarily mute your audio, please? Thank you. So that is this Louis? So I can set them as a presenter, organizer, or participant. If they're very noisy, I can kick them away. All right. So you can, if you set them as an organizer, they can see the participants. If you set them as a presenter, they can share their screen. So that's it. Thank you guys. So you can do here react. Can you guys use the button react? So that's it. These are the react. You have question. And thank you, Miss Anna, for joining too. So as you can see, you can have multiple participants. Um, 3CX for standard, there is 100 meeting participant. I'm just mute, Louis. 100 meeting participants. Actually, that depends on the license that you will be getting. So, Hannah, so you can chat them, and you can also upload file here, so you can send them your presentation right away. They can also do whiteboard. Can you guys still see my screen? So if you would like to discuss something like network, things like that. So you have an IP phone. So those are the features of web meeting. So far, do you have any question? So I can proceed on the other topic. Thank you, John Rick, Louis, and Miss Anna. I just want to add, you can set the video quality here. So if your concern is a very slow internet connection, you can set this to lower SD, HD, and full HD is the one with um, heavy data. So let's just put SD network. So you can see here your uplink capacity, downlink capacity. So it just requires less than 2 MB to create a web meeting. So for the meeting info, you can see here the organizer is the IP phone, the extension that I use for this web client. So just to add, any extension can do web client and do web meeting. So it depends on the administrator if you will be if they will allow you to have one. So right now our server is using Taiwan and it's using a Linux OS. So that's it. So for privacy policy, it also have this. We gotta just read it. So stop sharing. So that's it for the web client. And there's more. The switchboard. So what is the switchboard? Here you can see the clients calling. Let me just try. One, two. So as you can see the caller, callee, if they are joined in a queue, the time spent. So that's it. So you can just right click on this if you would like to transfer, park Louis, drop, or record. So that's it. And if you are part of a queue, queue is, for those who are not familiar, what is queue? Queue is like a ring group. So agent log in, log out, all calls coming into the queue can be answered by anyone. So that is a queue. So next one is the wallboard. So this wallboard is it is like the summary of the queue data. So you can see here how many are waiting, how many agents are busy, the total number of calls, callbacks, and answered calls. So if you are a queue manager, you can also manage this one. If the calls are always abandoned or not being answered, you can monitor it from here. So waiting time. So maybe if you have a bigger waiting time, maybe you have to add more employees or agents. So that's it. So now you can see 812 tech queue from here because this 501 extension is registered in one of the queue, which is the tech queue. So you can see here who are the one logged in. So Louis, 111, Louis, and the IP phone. So there are three. So you can just log out by clicking this queue button. So you can see here it is logged out. Just log in there. You can do that. And also you can also log in and out from here. If you use this one on the upper right hand, it means you will log out from all of the queues you are part in. So if you just want to log out from a specific queue, just use the button here. All right. So that's it. Settings. You can set your profile here. What else? You can just the notification. If you want to play chat notification, and for the personalize, if you don't want to see other groups, like for example, I'm from sales, or I'm from tech. I don't want to see sales. There should be a group here, and just disable the sales. So if you don't want to see them, just disable this one. What else for active calls? So here you can disable the things you can if you want to minimize the things that you are seeing. If you have a lot of agents, if you want to be specific, you have options here. So right now there's only one queue. You can just disable if you have tech or sales. So that's it. For audio and video, this is where you can set which microphone speaker you want to use. So I have multiple, but I will just use the Jabra one, this one. And then for headset integration, these are the brands that you can integrate with the 3CX web client. Sennheiser, Plantronics, and Jabra. So if you need those, you may contact our sales. So those are the headset that you can integrate. Next one is greetings. So you can set greetings for each extension. You can upload as long as it's a WAV file. You can record actually. So just and then if you let me just cancel that because it's too noisy. So you can just record right away from your web client or from your IP phone. So that's it for the greeting. Next one is if you have an existing CRM. So for those who are not familiar with the CRM, it is a customer relation management. It is a third party. You can use it here. So I will not show you how it's done. So for the QR code, let's say you want to use your Android or iOS app, you can just scan this through your through your phone. So, all right. So this is the BLF settings. So right now I have a BLF settings. BLF is the one you can, I mean, BLF means busy lamp field. So you can monitor if they're busy, if they're talking to someone. You can set it here. You can add more and more. So if you're our receptionist, this will be helpful. So what else is possible? So you can have line, BLF, speed dial, custom speed dial, shared parking. These are the call center features. Agent log in, log out. Can change status if you want to use do not disturb using your BLF. So that's it for web client. If you have any question for the web client, just leave it on the chat box, and we will move forward to 3 mobile. Let me just prepare for it. Hang on. Just 1 moment. All right. Do you have any questions with the 3 web client? If none, I will proceed on 3 mobile. Just set this up. Oops. So this is the mobile that I borrowed. It's an Android device. Of course, you can install it also to an iPhone, I mean iOS. Download it from Apple Store. And if you're using an Android device, you can just use Play Store. Just look for 3CX, and then that's it. Let me just show you. Let's just go back first to the extension. For example, I would like to use 501 still in my mobile. Let's look for 501. As you can see, as an administrator, you can go here. But as a user, you will have to go to the Outlook, I mean email. You will have to scan this one. It is attached. Once you use the send welcome email, it is attached already. So if you're not sure how it's done, there's also a guide for you to do it, attached by, of course, 3CX SMTP server. So let's open that, and then Louis, can you see my Android device from my screen?
Yeah, I can see it.
Thank you. So now I will use this 3CX mobile. So if you have installed it just right now, you have a license agreement that you must agree to proceed. So just click agree, and then welcome to 3CX. Just so you can choose your theme, so dark or light. Update your status, hold a conference. So later on, I'll show you how. Scan QR code. And then, up permission, let's get started. So just allow recording of video. And then, now it asks for me to scan the QR code. Let me just quickly, where is it? Here. So now, as you can see, just as quick as that, your phone is now registered. So it says, congratulations, 3 has been provisioned successfully. So it asks you to call Echo Service. This one is to this one allows you to test if you have a good audio or speaker on fresh install. So just allow everything. So now it automatic. So you can see my, I mean, you can hear my echo voice. So it's being tested. So far it's good. So let's just end this. Right. So this is what you can see from fresh install of the 3.6 from your Android device. As you can see here, since I used the QR code of 501, it is registered to 501. So you can do conference here, just same as with the 3CX web client. And settings, you can turn silent. And just in case you have, if you put a mistaken QR code, you can scan again. If you would like to provision into 502, you can do it here. So it says here it's ready for calls. Let's just look for other options. Status. So you can see here the extension that is registered in the 3sec server. You can still see Miss Anna there, smile. And now you can also see contacts. Just tonight. Just So if you allow it, you will see the contacts registered in the 3CX server. It will be synced into your mobile. So that's it. You can also see your recent calls. Have most calls with Louis. You can also do chat here from your mobile. That's it. You can also, as you can see here, you can also attach image, PDF files. So you can do that, but I will just not show you because you might see my gallery. And then you can see voicemail here. So if you have any question, let me proceed on testing this one. Oh, there's a notification. So, so as you can see, there is a push notification. Uh, so Louis sent me a message, and then we will try to call Louis. One, two, just click. Oops, just click this one. So let me just put it on earpiece first so you can, so there will be no feedback, but you can just put it on speaker. Hello, Louis. Can you hear me? Thank you. Let me just put this back on earpiece. And then if you decide to have a conference with Louis, that's possible here. If you would like Louis to be transferred to other, like I will transfer him to Miss Anna, it's also possible. You can also do recording here. And then I'll show you the new feature of 3.6. I think this just has been released. This I'm not sure if it's April or May, but it's a new feature. Okay, all right. I will do a video call with Louis. Let's see. Louis, can you please accept my invitation? Oops, oops. I think I pressed the ended one. Let me just repeat. All right. Can you see me? Thank you for that. And then that's it. I video calling from. Hang on, let me just turn off this speaker. So that's it. That's how easy to provision mobile device to 3CX, and you can also do chat, video calling from the mobile. Um, just uh, just like to add, for the iOS users, there's 36 is in the process of enabling video calling in the iOS device. They said it will be released in 1 month because they just released this one just I think recently. I think last week. I'm not sure, but it's just a new feature of 3CX. If you have a 3CX firmware version of 16.0.5, so that's it. You must update your firmware so you can have that feature already in your 3CX and mobile. So if you have any question with the things that I have discussed so far, please leave it on the chat box before I proceed on the next topic. All right, so far there's no question yet. So I think it's all clear. Next is what's the next? Just what's the next one. Next one is the 3CX. Oops, I think you're seeing it. Next one is the 3CX client. Just prepare for it. One moment. I just want to add to the 3CX web client. There's actually a desktop notification for 3CX web client, but I cannot show you because I'm using a dual screen. It keeps showing on my first screen. So I'm just showing you now, just so you know that it is possible. Um, just check if I missed something. So these are the operating systems wherein you can install the 3.6. I mean, you can use the 3.6 web client is the Windows PC, Windows 10, 8.1, 8, and 7 SP1. So, but the Windows 10 is the one preferred by 3CX, but it's still supported if you have 8.1 and 8. And for Mac OS users, the preferred one is High Shera, which is 10.13. So if you have those kind, it is possible. So for mobile app, for Apple iOS, the iOS version should be 10 or higher. You can download it from App Store, as I mentioned earlier. And for Android, you must have a version of 5.x or higher, but the preferred one is the Android Pie, which is 9.x. So you can install it from Google Play Store account. So next will be the 3CX app, 3CX client. So let me just prepare for it. One moment. I'm sorry. Just Um, just to add for that, if you plan to use mobile app of 3CX, these are the things you need to consider. You must open your ports in your WAN for 3CX PBX using the tunnel port 5090, which is the tunnel port, and 5001 for HTTPS port, for you to be able to provision those devices, I mean those mobile app, to your 3CX server. Um, if you are a remote worker, you tend to go outside and to a different location. You can use 3G, 4G, or Wi-Fi. So it don't have to port forward from your end, but on the server end. That's the thing. What else? So 3Sex app has a push notification, as we've seen earlier. It will notify your mobile to that where someone's calling, someone sent you a message. So it's one of the feature. Okay, just oops. All right. Let's go to 3Sex client. This is the same email that we received earlier when we create the extension 501. So as you can see, there's a QR code like what we've used earlier. There's also a 3CX client provisioning file, configuration file. So this is it. Um, you can just download it right away. Let's download that. And then make sure you downloaded also this 3CX phone for Windows, which can be downloaded from this website, 3sex.com, 3sex app download links. You can just download this one if you're using a Windows app. Use it here, and let's go back to the email. Uh, I'm sorry, I'm just getting confused with my two screen. So this is the downloaded one. So this is the one from the email. So once you have installed this one, you can just double click this one right away. So as you can see, this is the 3CX client app in Windows. So when you double click this one, it will automatically be provision here. So I just double click this one, and it is now registered to IP phone 1, which is the 501. So it is the 501 here. As you can see here, these are the BLF keys we set up, that I set up from the 3CX extension. You can also set this up from the 3CX web client, and you can also set this up from here. Just right click, and then configure. Can you see my screen? Just let me know if you don't see my screen. Okay. And then you can do the things that you can do with the web client here in 3CX client app. So it's the same. So it depends on the user now which one to use. Okay, let me just. Okay. So what's the difference? So here you can just double click people you want to call. Let's say Louis again. Just double click here, and that's it. We're now connected. Just put mic on it. So as you can see here, you can also see the status of Louis. So he is in engaged call. So you can also do video calling from here, as I don't have a webcam right now, but it's possible. So what attended transfer, just so because people, I mean users get confused what's the difference of this. So if you use transfer, let's say I will transfer Louis to Miss Anna. But, but he's using the app now. But yeah, this transfer can be blind transfer. So it depends on the setup you put in your extension. You can also use attended transfer. Attended transfer is you will contact, for example, Miss Anna first. You will be able to speak with her first before transferring Louis to her. So that's the difference. So what else we can do from here? You can also set your status from here. Available away, do not disturb. So things like that. And you can use soft phone. And this queue again, it will allow you to log out from all of your queues connected. So let me just go to our working, I mean, in operation account. So I will use my account here, Racial One. It is using other 3sec server. I just wanted to show you some features. All right, so let me just hide those. As you can see, here is the tech group. So I'm part of that tech group, and we usually use this one, switchboard, if you want a call center feature. Just just click that one, and this one will be shown. All right. So your view can be changed to user, receptionist. So what's the difference? So if you're a receptionist, you can see the caller and the callee. Just hide other people. All right. So you can just see the tech group. And then if you're a manager, this is what you can see. All queues. Uh, as you can see here, Louis is logged into the high priority queue, warranty claims queue. Christian is part of the tech group queue, high priority queue, and warranty claims queue. So let's see what's inside. So if you click the tech group, you can see people who are, I mean, agents who are logged in this queue and who are not. And you can also see from here the time they logged in and logged out. You can also see the talk time. That's it. How many calls are answered, how many calls are abandoned. So that's it. Um, since I have manager uh, rights, I can set Louis to log into queue in just one click. So he's now logged in. So he don't have other options but to log into queue. I will just put him and log out. So that's it. You can do chat also here. So that's it. What else? So you also have information here, the waiting time. As you can see, all of our calls are being answered. So there is 0, service, um, 12. So total number of calls for this queue alone. And abandon is 0. Longest waiting time is 2 minutes. I think it also includes the holding time. So average waiting is just 20 seconds, which is good. Average talking is 7 minutes. But as you can see here, Louis talk time is 33 minutes, but he only answered 2 calls. So that's a long conversation. So what else? Queue manager. So for manager, you can see people who are part of the queue, all the extensions here. I just disabled some of the groups for confidentiality. And then you also have wallboard. As you can see here, the time is 3:46 p.m. The wallboard, it also says that talk time for all of the queue. So talk time is 2 hours, answered is 16. So that's it. If you're a manager, this one is very helpful if you have a call center features. So this is the advantage of using a 3CX client. What else? You can also check your voicemail from here. So that's it. So you can also set your voicemail greetings from here. Depends on you. Depends on your status. So that's possible. And there's also an option for CTI. For those who are not familiar with it, CTI means computer telephony integration. This means you can integrate your IP phone, so you can control it also from 3CX client once you enable this one. But I will not show you that for now for the limited time. You can also start a 3CX web meeting from here. Just click this button and then it will go to this. So I'm not do that as we've tested it earlier. You can also set conference from here. So these are the conference that we performed. What else? Settings. So you can do call forwarding. Let's say if I am in do not disturb, I can forward them to some to other like voicemail extension. So let's say if I'm do not disturb, I will forward all the calls being sent to me to Louis. So and then you can also add your mobile. You will forward the external number. Just put the external number from here. Uh, let's say for example that is your telephone number, home telephone number. You can do that. System extension send BC. Send BC just it will just send a BC tone to the caller. So this is for internal calls and this is for external calls. So uh, they just have the same options. And then what else? Configure accounts. As you can see, if you have multiple 3CX server, you can switch right away. So earlier I switched to from our test 3CX to the working one. In operation 3CX server. Audio options. If you think you have problem with audio, this is where you can set it up. Default microphone, speaker, and ringing. So you got options. If you think you're hearing very low, the one you're calling hears you very low, you can adjust this microphone gain to higher one. And if they think it's so loud, you can just lower it down. So you can also enable echo cancellation, which is enabled by default. What else? So video options, you can set video resolution to lower or higher, depends on your likings. So frames per second, that also affects the bandwidth. So if you just be in the normal bandwidth, just use 256. You want lower one. If you think your internet is slower, you can just lower it down. And then since I don't have a camera, there must be an option here. All right. And next one is the hotkeys. So these are the shortcuts that you can use to answer calls. So these are the options. You can change it. Okay, so those are the things, but we normally don't change it. And then for advanced settings, you can set up the behavior of your 3.6 client. So if you have multiple calls, you want to answer everything quickly, you can enable this option. So you can use just enter key. So if someone's calling, you can just press the enter key right away. So you can automatically answer that. But sometimes we disable this one because if we're typing on a Word document or emails and someone call us in, and then we accidentally answer it. So it depends on you, depends on how you use it. So you can set up the default of your transfer here. If you want blind transfer or attended transfer, you can set it up here. And so the parameters you can change it. It is the thing that you can see here, caller number first or call display name first. As you can see, it is set to caller number first. What else? Teams, can do that, change that. Let's try. And then re-register. This one is used if you change something from 3CX server. So let's say if you change something here, if you change it, if you change the name, change the email address, and the authentication, which is very important, you can just re-register right away, or you can just resend credentials. So those are the options for troubleshooting if you think you cannot connect to the 3.6. So I will switch back. So if you have any question, just you can go to the 3.6 website or contact Alloy if you have any question to this. So far, I think we're done. All right. That's it for my presentation. Do you have any question? Hello, Louis.
Yeah.
Okay. I think I'm not sure if they have question, but my presentation is finished.
All right. So we will be waiting for your questions, guys. Please have them posted in the chat. Come on, guys.
Hello,
Any
guys.
questions? Don't be
Are you guys
shy.
still there?
Yeah. We'll still be waiting maybe until 4 o'clock, until
Yeah.
4 p.m. before we call it a day for this webinar.
Just leave a question. Maybe we forget something. If something confuses you, just let us know, please. Hello, everyone. If you have any question, you can raise your hand if you want to speak, or you can leave a comment or chat. Louis, I think they have no further questions. Thank you all. Thank you, everyone who participated this webinar. We will upload this recorded video in our YouTube channel, and the presentation we will send it to you via email. So thank you again.